Do you ever feel a deep, nagging sense of emptiness, even when your life looks fine on the surface? It's this feeling that something is missing, but you can't seem to figure out what it is. It can feel like you're on the outside looking in on your own life. You might find yourself thinking, shouldn't I be happier than this? Well, that feeling of worthlessness you might be carrying around probably isn't your fault. It has a name, and it's one of the most unspoken and invisible wounds of childhood. Emotional neglect. We're going to finally give a name to why you feel so empty and explain how the childhood you don't even remember as bad could still be running your life today. And if you're new here, think about subscribing. This channel is all about understanding the deeper parts of ourselves so we can heal and build a life that feels more connected. 1. What is the invisible wound of emotional neglect? So, to understand this feeling of emptiness, we first need to define what childhood emotional neglect, or CEN, actually is. Unlike other kinds of trauma that are about things that happened to you, emotional neglect is the trauma of what didn't happen. It's when a parent consistently fails to notice, tune into, or respond to their child's emotional needs. Now, this isn't about blaming parents. A lot of emotionally neglectful parents are good people who provide for their children in all the practical ways: home, food, clothes. On the surface, the family picture can look perfect. But as psychologist Dr. Janice Webb puts it, emotional neglect is the white space in that family picture. It's the background, not the foreground. It's the absence of a key ingredient. Maybe when you came home from school, sad? Nobody asked why. Maybe when you were bursting with excitement, your joy wasn't shared or celebrated. Or maybe your family just didn't date feelings. Especially the messy ones. These aren't big, dramatic events. They're thousands of tiny, repeated, non-events. Your parents might have brushed off your feelings, saying things like, "You're just too sensitive," or "Stop being a baby." Or maybe they were just so wrapped up in their own problems that they didn't have the space to notice your inner world at all. This steady failure to have your emotions validated sends a powerful, unspoken message. Your feelings are an inconvenience, a burden, or just wrong. As a kid, you do what you have to do to adapt. You build a wall around your emotions to survive. You learn to stop reaching out, to stop showing what you need, because you've learned that nobody's on the other end to answer. This isn't a choice you make. It's a survival strategy that gets wired right into your system. The hardest part about emotional neglect is that you can't see it. Because it's about what was missing, there are no scars, and often, no bad memories to point to. People who went through it often say they had a good childhood and feel confused about why they struggle so much. So, they blame themselves, thinking the unhappiness is some personal flaw. You're just left with this deep, confusing emptiness and a quiet, nagging question. What is wrong with me? 2. The core wound, where the emptiness comes from. So, how does this invisible childhood experience create such a real feeling of emptiness in your adult life? That emptiness is a direct echo of those unmet needs. It's a longing for the emotional connection and validation you were supposed to get as a child, but didn't. Think of it this way. Your emotions are the most basic, core part of who you are. They're your internal GPS, telling you what you need, what you want, and who you are. When you're a child, you need your parents to act as a mirror for your emotions. You need them to reflect back to you that what you're feeling is real and okay. That's how you learn that you are real and okay. But when that mirror isn't there, when your feelings are ignored, you don't learn how to connect with your own emotional world. You grow up disconnected from the very core of yourself. This creates an internal void. The emptiness you feel is the space where your emotional self was supposed to develop. It's a profound disconnection, not just from other people, but from you. Adults who experienced child emotional neglect often describe this as feeling numb, hollow, or cut off. It can show up as a chronic loneliness. Even when you're in a room full of people, you might feel like you're watching your own life from behind a glass wall, but you're never truly in it. This happens because the skills you need to build deep, emotionally close connections were never taught. Without a roadmap for understanding emotions, building those bonds feels strange and even unsafe. This emptiness isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that something vital was missing while you were growing up. It's grief for a connection you never had, and a longing for a self you were never taught how to know. The emptiness is a symptom, not the root problem. And knowing that is the first step toward finally filling that void from the inside out. 3. 5 lifelong consequences of the invisible wound. The emptiness from emotional neglect doesn't just hang in the air. It shows up in our adult lives through some very predictable patterns. Let's break down 5 of the most common ones. See if any of these sound familiar. Number 1. You don't have a stable sense of self. If someone asked you, "So, who are you? What do you actually like? What do you want?" Would you have a hard time answering? This is a huge challenge for many SENG survivors. When your emotions are ignored in childhood, you don't get the chance to build a solid identity. Your sense of self ends up being shaped by what others want from you, instead of by your own internal compass. This can make you feel like a chameleon, always adapting to fit in with whoever you're with. You might be fantastic at sensing what other people need, but totally clueless about your own needs. This makes decisions from what to eat for dinner to what career to choose. You're trying to navigate life without your own GPS. This deep confusion about who you are is a major source of that empty feeling, leaving you feeling lost in your own life. Number 2, you're terrified of being a burden. A core lesson you learn from emotional neglect is that your needs are an inconvenience. Kids who are ignored or shamed for being sad or scared internalize the message that their needs just don't matter. As an adult, this turns into a deep-seated fear of being a burden on anyone. You might be the person who never asks for help, even when you're drowning. You might feel racked with guilt when you have to lean on someone. Dr. Jonas Webb calls this counterdependence, a fierce, often unconscious avoidance of relying on others. You learned it safer to do everything yourself than to risk being ignored or rejected for asking. This also fuels people-pleasing. You might become the caretaker in all your relationships, always putting others first to feel worthy while your own needs get shoved down. It's exhausting, and it just reinforces the feeling that you, at your core, are invisible. Number 3, you're extremely sensitive to rejection. When your first experiences teach you that your feelings are unwelcome, you can develop a hypersensitivity to rejection as an adult. You might find yourself constantly scanning for signs that someone is upset with you. A delayed text, a slight change in tone, or canceled plans can feel like a catastrophe, triggering intense anxiety and feelings of worthlessness. This isn't you being dramatic. Your brain was wired in childhood to be on high alert for emotional abandonment. Because your needs weren't met, your system learned that connection is shaky and can be lost at any moment. As an adult, this can make you either avoid getting close to people to protect yourself, or become anxious in relationships, always needing reassurance that you won't be left. You might put up walls to protect yourself, which ironically just creates the loneliness you were trying to avoid in the first place. Number 4, you judge yourself mercilessly. Kids are naturally self-centered. They see the world as revolving around them. So when their emotional needs aren't being met, they can't think mom and dad are stressed and have their own issues. Instead, they think something must be wrong with me. This self-blame gets baked into their personality. As an adult, this shows up as a relentless inner critic and chronic low. You might judge yourself without mercy, truly believing that you're fundamentally flawed or just not good enough. This feeling of worthlessness can creep into every corner of your life, affecting your career, your relationships, and your ability to enjoy anything you achieve. It's one of the most painful legacies of emotional neglect, constantly fueling that emptiness and convincing you that you don't deserve to feel whole. Number 5, you can't easily identify or express your emotions. Maybe the most direct result of emotional neglect is a general struggle with your own feelings. When your parents don't give you the words for your emotions, you don't develop that language yourself. As an adult, you might just know you feel bad, but you can't tell if you're angry, sad, hurt, or ashamed. Your feelings are just a confusing, overwhelming fog. This can lead you to either numb out and feel totally detached, or have emotional outbursts that seem to come from nowhere. Because you never learned how to handle your feelings, they can get bottled up until they explode. This disconnect from your own emotional experience makes it incredibly hard to tell others what you need, which leads to more distance in relationships. It keeps you stuck feeling empty because you're cut off from the very part of you that makes you feel alive. Section 4. The path forward. How to begin healing. Hearing all of this might feel like a lot, but here's the most important thing to take away. You can heal from this. The emptiness you feel is not a life sentence. It's the result of skills you were never taught, and you can absolutely learn them now. Healing from emotional neglect is all about reconnecting with the part of yourself you had to push away. Here are 3 first steps to start that journey. Step 1. Acknowledge it happened. The first, most critical step is to simply acknowledge that what you went through was real and that it affected you. Because emotional neglect is invisible, it's so easy to downplay it. You might tell yourself, my childhood wasn't that bad. Give yourself permission to see the truth. Your emotional needs weren't met, and that was a huge loss. This step means challenging the self-blame you've been carrying for years. It's about understanding that your emptiness, your relationship struggles, and your low self-esteem are not your fault. They are logical outcomes of your childhood. Naming the neglect lets you finally aim your anger and grief where it belongs, at the lack of support instead of at yourself. Writing a letter to your younger self can be a powerful way to give yourself the validation you never got. Step 2. Start learning the language of emotions. To heal that void, you have to start filling it with self-awareness. This means learning to identify and name your own feelings. Since you weren't taught this as a kid, you have to consciously practice it as an adult. Start small. A few times a day, just pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? At first, the answer might be, I don't know, and that's perfectly okay. You can use a feelings wheel, a tool you can easily find online to help you put words to what's going on. Try to notice the physical sensations in your body. Is your chest tight? Is your stomach in knots? Our bodies often hold our emotions before our minds can name them. Mindfulness can help you become a curious observer of your inner world, without judging what you find. This isn't about getting rid of your feelings. It's just about letting them be there and listening to what they're trying to tell you. Step 3. Practice being kind to yourself. Maybe the most life-changing step is learning to treat yourself with the kindness you never received. Most people who experienced CEN are incredibly hard on themselves. Self-compassion is the antidote to that harsh inner critic. It means replacing that criticism with kind, supportive self-talk. When you mess up, instead of beating yourself up, try talking to yourself like you would to a good friend. Say things like, "It's okay that you feel this way," or "You're doing the best you can." It means understanding that your struggles are valid and you deserve care. This process is often called reparenting yourself, giving your inner child the support and validation they were denied. It's a slow practice, but over time, you can build an inner source of warmth and safety that begins to heal the emptiness from the inside. This journey isn't always easy, and it often helps to have support. A therapist who knows about childhood trauma can give you a safe space to work through these wounds and guide you. They can help you see what was invisible and finally give you the tools to build a life filled with connection, meaning, and self-worth. Conclusion. That feeling of emptiness that has been haunting you for so long. It has a story. It's the story of a child whose inner world went unseen. It's the story of what didn't happen, but understanding that story is the key to changing the ending. You are not empty, flawed, or broken. You are a person who survived a profound, invisible wound, and you have everything you need to heal it. The path to feeling whole starts with acknowledging your pain, learning to listen to your own heart, and finally, giving yourself the compassion you have always deserved. You can learn to fill that void, not with anything from the outside, but with a deep and lasting connection to yourself. It's a journey of coming home. Thank you for being here for this conversation. So many of us carry this wound in silence, and just sharing our experiences can make a huge difference. If you feel comfortable, share one thing that resonated with you in the comments below. Your story might just be the thing that makes someone else feel a little less alone. And for a deeper look at how our childhoods shape us, be sure to watch our next video on healing the inner child. Remember to be gentle with yourself. You're on your way.